Now you have a blank, an order blank inside your packet that if you ever want this company to make one of these up for you to hang in your office, they're neat to have because when you have that hang in your office, your patient will watch you flow through their body just by watching that flow chart, and it's very neat. Now I will move this forward a little bit so everybody can see this. And when you start testing, the first thing you're going to test is 9 master reflexes, and then the thyroid, then the adrenal, then 4 infectious, and so on down. I'll help you go through this. By the end of the day, this will be so simple and so easy, you won't have any problem in testing. But if you do, you want to watch videos, because videos will help you take through this on every seminar and learn it. Now, the human body has reflexes that have to do with allergies. And the first one is called right master allergy. The second one is called left master allergy. They're immediately below the eye. They're not over the sinuses. They're right immediately below the eye. Don't go down here. Go right here. Now, if this girl had an allergy on the right side of her body, this reflex would make her arm get weak, and you see how strong she is? She's strong as a horse. You can go to this one, and she's strong as a horse. So right master allergy has to do with 3 organs. Liver, which is under the breast, immediately under the breast, and you all have a hole here in your chest here. Everybody has a deep hole here under the breast. That is the liver reflex. When the liver reflex blows, you've got a patient that could have hepatitis or just a liver infection or a liver that's low on nutrition or a liver that has metals in it. You don't have to worry about what's in that liver. Just treat what you find. Now, I want you to know today, I don't want you guys to treat diseases. I want you to treat the body that has the diseases. Then you never get in trouble. Never mark down diseases on your paper that, oh, this patient has hepatitis or this disease or liver disease. Always mark down on your paper liver syndrome. Liver syndrome, kidney syndrome, heart syndrome, but don't talk about diseases. Somehow people get legally in trouble when they use those terminologies. Medical doctors use that, and even they get in trouble often when they use that terminology. So the first reflex, if this reflex is hot and it blows and the arm goes down, if the arm goes right on down, you go over here to liver, then you take your finger and you walk to bile duct, and then you come inside the rib here and you go to gallbladder. So you have liver, and you come over to bile duct. When somebody has a bile duct, you've got a patient that has food poisoning, that are poisoned by food. Now, how does food get poisoned? By bacteria that comes in the food that you eat every day. And millions of people in the United States get food poisoned every day, and if they had a doctor like you to pick this up, they could get relief overnight. And they don't ruin their body, or ruin their liver, or ruin parts of the body that are being poisoned by bacteria that give off tremendous poisons. And so you got liver, bile duct. Then inside the rib here is the gallbladder. It's a huge reflex. You can never miss it. Now, when the gallbladder is sick, it creates more symptoms in the human body than any condition you can possibly conceive of. Belching, bloating, gas, indigestion, ringing of the ears, noises in the head, skipping of the heart, irregular heartbeat, all kinds of symptoms, eczemas, rashes, headaches, sinus trouble, all can come from gallbladder trouble. Even arthritis and rheumatism can come from a gallbladder that's not working good. And without being able to test this, you'd never be able to help these people. Even if their gallbladder is removed, this symptom will blow if they're having trouble with the stub where the gallbladder was coming off. So even if they say to you, oh, doctor, my gallbladder's been removed, don't worry about it. Treat them because they'll get over their symptoms. So you got liver, bile duct, gallbladder under the right allergy. Now, the left allergy has 5 reflexes that are terribly important to learn. The first one is staph, and that's right here where the tonsils are. There's a staph reflex. People that get staph get boils and carbuncles and impetigo and tooth decay and acne and rashes and eczema and hives and cysts. These are the things that they get when they have staph, and you'll get people that have a staph reflex. Then you come inside the clavicle right here, you have the strep reflex. When people get strep, they get eczemas, and people get wry neck and torticollis, and their necks hold down like this, and they're so stiff you can't even adjust them because there's nothing to adjust because their neck is full of strep infection. And these are people that often get laryngitis and sore throats and sinus trouble and eczemas just because they have strep infection. So that's the strep reflex. You can take all your fingers and fit them right inside the clavicle, not outside, but inside. Now watch this closely. I love this reflex because every American at some time in their life has trouble with this reflex. You take your hand on the ball of the shoulder and you fit your fingers inside this hole right here. And inside this hole right here is the lung reflex. You'll always be testing the left lung. Even if the right lung goes bad, the left lung reflex will blow to protect the right lung. Now when somebody has a lung reflex, you've got somebody that either has pneumonia or asthma or emphysema or bronchitis or a cold or sinus trouble or coughing or sneezing or barfing strictly because they have a lung infection. In Michigan, Every winter, we take care of thousands of people that come into our offices with lung infections, and the only symptom they got is a head cold, or they're coughing or sneezing or barfing, or they got asthma or bronchitis or emphysema. So that's a tremendous reflex in our state. Now, you got staph, you got strep, you got pneumonia, then immediately below the left breast, you got a hole just like the liver, and that's the spleen reflex. Now, when the spleen reflex blows, you've got a patient that could have lupus, you've got a patient that got infections, you've got a patient that is so sick and their body is so run down, and the reason for this is because the spleen is the backup organ to the rest of the immune system. When the whole immune system goes bad, then finally the spleen kicks in, and when it goes bad, you have no immunity anymore. And they call that lupus, when you have no immunity, meaning your body fills up with pus. And everything gives out. Your liver gives out, your kidneys give out, your lungs give out, because you're full of pus. And that's a spleen reflex. So when you get that, that's a backup organ. And you've got to fix the backup organ before the body will even tell you what the original problem was. See? All right. Then you come to the high part of the bowel. Everybody has the high part of the bowel right here. When you get the high part of the bowel, you have got a patient that has a parasite or the flu. Now, people, when they get the flu, they just get it within a few days or a week. You know that they got the flu. But 80 to 90% of the time when this reflex blows, these people have been sick for weeks or months or years. Then they got parasites. Now, I want you to understand that there are literally 2,000 parasites in nature today. And these parasites can be amoebas, they can be worms, they can be viruses, they can be bacteria, they can be any type of animal that lives in the human body only in the bowel. The descending bowel, not the ascending, but the descending. They can go to the ascending, but it's usually the descending. And when they live here, they live off your blood, they make you anemic, and then they give off sewage like you do, and that sewage goes through your whole body and gives you symptoms of eczemas and bedwetting and juvenile diabetes and adult diabetes and eczemas and hives and every imaginable condition under the sun, weight loss, weight gain, comes from a parasite reflex. Every day, some of the sickest people in the world come into my office with this reflex. And 8 weeks later, the reflex is corrected, the parasites are dead, and their body now gets well. And so when you get a parasite reflex, don't take this lightly. You've got a sick patient. So on this side of the body, you've got staph, you've got strep, you've got pneumonia, you've got lupus, you've got parasite or flu. And when they just have it for a few days, you treat them for the flu. In 1 to 3 weeks, they're over the flu. They're totally over it. Now, people, these are reflexes that have to do with about 80% of the diseases in the world today that people get sick with that a lot of doctors don't know how to help. Now you go to the center of the body. You have right allergy, left allergy, then you go metabolic, which is above the right breast, in the middle of the chest here. You just take your hand like this and take your finger in the middle, and it's right there. Metabolic. The metabolic reflex, when it blows, it means that some system in your body is screwed up. There's something wrong. It isn't working right. It's backing up. It's sick. It's diseased. There's something wrong. And when this reflex blows, you erase it, and then you start checking all the organs below the breast, all the way down in the sternum here, 2 places for the heart and the esophagus. And I'll show you how to do that as one comes up here today. It's very simple, because if you know where the organs of the body are, you can pick it up. And there are a lot of doctors that don't know where the organs are in the body. They've never been taught that. They've learned just the spine. They haven't learned it. So we will teach you that here, how to find these organs and how to find what's wrong with people. Then you go down to the belly button, and the belly button is a yeast reflex. Now, when people get yeast, that is a terrible thing, because your sickest diseases in the world today, like your fibroids and your tumors and your cysts, are full of yeast and fungus and molds. And these people rarely get well. All their life they have vaginal discharge. They have eczemas on their body. They have welts. They have sores. They lose parts of their body because those parts of the body have filled up with fibroids and tumors, and the doctor has to remove their breasts or their uterus because there's so much yeast in their body. People, when you find a yeast reflex, you will find 30 to 40% of all American women, and 7 out of 10 men beyond age 40 will have a yeast reflex in their body. Now, in a woman, the yeast goes to her uterus, her vaginal tract, her breast, and a man, it always goes into the prostate. And when a man gets it, it's terrible because it can't get out. And so when you get this reflex, you had better treat it, or you've got a terribly sick patient that isn't going to get well. He's going to die on you eventually. Immediately below the belly button, you've got a virus reflex. And when people get viruses, they got a disease that medicine has no answer for today. There is no drug in medicine for viruses. We have 2 nutritions that will kill viruses quickly within 12 weeks that are over it, and beautifully without side effects. So when somebody gets a virus, you've got somebody with Epstein-Barr, you've got somebody with shingles, you've got somebody with rashes and eczemas and herpes on their bodies. And all you have to do is treat it for 12 weeks and these people get over it. So now I just showed you right allergy, left allergy, metabolic, yeast, and virus, which is 5 reflexes on the human body that has to deal with almost all the diseases in the world today. I want you to know that. There's one more I'm going to be teaching you in just a minute. It's called the chronic fatigue syndrome reflex, which sometimes encompasses all these at one time. So I went through 5 reflexes that have to deal with 5 different types of bugs in the human body, that when you get chronic fatigue, you could conceivably have all these bugs at the same time. And so we call it chronic fatigue, meaning everything under one reflex. Okay, you've got 5 now, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you go to 6, which is the heart. Now, people, when the heart reflex blows, you don't scare your patient and say, well, now you've got heart failure, you're going to get a heart attack, or you've got a heart disease. Never, never go into a heart reflex and talk a lot about it to your patient, because people, when you talk about the heart, it scares them. For some reason or another, they all think they're going to die of a heart attack when you talk about the heart. So you say, well, look, we've got a heart syndrome here, and all that means is that the muscles of your heart are weak, and what I want to do is I want to support those muscles and make them strong and healthy again. And you always tell them the heart is the easiest organ in the human body to rebuild, and it is. If I had to have anything go wrong with my whole body, I would think my heart would be the one I'd want to choose, because it's so easy to recoup and repair. Now, when people have heart trouble, they get tired, they have high blood pressure, they have low blood pressure, they have headaches, they have swollen bodies, they have ankles that are swollen, knees that are swollen, legs that are swollen, arms and hands that are swollen, they get puffy in their head. Their whole body literally fills up with poisons because their circulation is so poor they can't move it. I had a lady in my office the other day, she was 80 years old, nothing was wrong with her but her heart. And she said to me, Dr. Versanow, I have been tired from the day I was born. Now, that woman lived 80 years with a weak heart. Amazing. The heart is the only organ in the whole body that will compensate and hang in there and try to live for many, many years, and some people don't make it. I had a grandpa come in my office the other day. He said, my 7-year-old grandson dropped Dad in the schoolroom the other day, 7 years old, because he had a weak heart and they didn't know it until after he died. Young kids drop Dad on basketball courts and football fields all the time, every winter, because doctors don't know how to check hearts. And conceivably, you could have saved their life if you would have picked this up. And that's what happened to Steve Nelson, the man that Mark Anderson talked about. His wife was so bad, so sick, so run down, they told her she was going to die. And we put her on nutrition for her heart. And today, she's healthy and alive and doing well, because here is a man in the medical field that was willing to find somebody in our field to help his wife get well. So that's the heart. Now, up till now, I used my pointer finger, right allergy, left allergy, metabolic, yeast, virus, heart. The next one, you got to use your hand, and that's the blood. You take your hand positive and negative to check the blood reflex out, both ways. Now, when you pick up a blood reflex, you've got somebody whose blood is so run down, so deteriorated, so low on hormones and vitamins and minerals that finally the body says, I've had it. Give me an oil change. See, that's what the body's asking for, an oil change. Now, believe me, I'm not good at getting oil changes. I mean, I'm told by my Ford dealer I've got to come in every 3,000 miles. The last time I looked at my Ford, it said 7,000. The only excuse I had, I was too busy. Well, people do that with you. They tell you, I'm too busy to come in. I'm too busy to be checked. I'm too busy to take my pills. And we all do it at times, people, but the human body is not like an automobile. You can replace the automobile, but the human body, once it's destroyed and it's so run down and so distorted, sometimes you can't turn it around because it's so bad. And so when this blood reflex blows, don't tell them they're anemic. Tell them there's something lacking in their blood that their body needs, and you're going to replace that with nutrition, and they stay on that the rest of their life, and then they'll stay healthy and well. And then you've got to watch this. It's very important. Now, we've gone through 6, 7. Number 7 was the blood, positive and negative. You find the heart reflex, which is anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inches below the sternum. This whole reflex, 3 inches here, is all heart in blood, right here. Now, you go down 3 inches, and that's the heart reflex. You come over about 1.5 inches, and everybody has a hole in their chest. So does she, right there. You got a hole. Everybody's got a deep hole. I've got a deep hole here just like everybody else. Now, that deep hole is the hemoglobin reflex. Now, the hemoglobin reflex is the only reflex in the body that represents the storage of hormones in your body. When this reflex blows, people, you already have all kinds of problems. You've lost the hair on your head. You've lost the nice shiny eyes and the hearing and the brightness of your body and the brightness and the color of your hair and the color of your eyes when people look in your eyes. You've already lost some of the shape of your body. You've already lost the hormones that make you romantic and happy and youthful and all the beautiful things that are in your body and make you creative. When this reflex blows, your body has just lost its hormones. And so this is a reflex when it blows that you want to put back into the body. You want to deposit in the body's account nutrition that will make that body look beautiful and healthy and well again, no matter how long it takes. You want to feed it. Then you've got heart, you've got hemoglobin, and you've got coronary. Here's the coronary reflex, not on the side of the body, but right next to it, right here, right at the level of the armpit, right here. Now, the coronary reflex is a beautiful reflex because medicine to this day has no test for coronary collapse. When the coronary artery reflex blows, that means either the coronary artery to your heart or all the blood vessels in your bodies have collapsed. I have patients that have this reflex that are coughing because their heart is filling. They're sneezing because their heart is filling. This is the SIDS reflex. When babies have SIDS, that means that they have crib death, or you want to prevent crib death, you want to pick up this reflex on these kids. And most of these babies, 6, 7, 8 months, years of age that have SIDS, they cough and sneeze every day, and their doctors will give them antibiotics thinking they got a cold. Well, they're coughing and sneezing because their heart is so weak from a lack of blood because the coronary artery is collapsing that their body fills up with water, and they're just coughing all day. And they're going to die from congestive heart failure if you don't take care of this. Adults have panic attacks with this. Most panic attacks and most anxiety in adults is this reflex. Arm pain, chest pains, fatigue, bodies that get stiff from a lack of circulation. I've got a young kid that's under my care now. He's 19 years of age. He walks with a walker like this. He's so stiff, his body's so stiff because all his arteries collapsed in his body because of this reflex. 3 weeks after on the nutritional treatment, he threw the walker away and he came in my office like this, 19 years of age. Beautiful. Doctors told him he had arthritis and rheumatism. He'd never get well. He'd be someday in a wheelchair. A miracle for this kid. All because I treated his coronary artery. You see, people, the heart will do the same thing. If you get a heart reflex that blows, you will get symptoms of MS, symptoms of Lou Gehrig's. You'll get symptoms of people that are filling with fluids so bad their bodies get so huge because of heart failure. And so, people, you got to learn that these first 9 reflexes is what nature wants you to test first. So you go right allergy, you go left allergy, you go metabolic, you go yeast, you go virus, you go heart, you go blood positive and negative, you go hemoglobin, you go coronary, and why didn't anyone blow on her? Well, look at her. Why do I pick people that look like her to come up on stage every time? Because she's the type of concept, the type of beauty that you want to see in every one of your patients. And this guy is going to take a picture because he believes that too, see? Make sure he pays you when you leave, okay? All right, the next reflexes you want to test is the thyroid. You got 3 thyroids. Thyroid T1 over the nose, tip of the nose, thyroid 3-4 right over the thyroid, and thyroid T3. Now, thyroid T1 is the only part of the thyroid that really you have to watch. Because when thyroid T1 blows, you've got a patient that's suicidal. You've got a patient that's terribly depressed mentally. You've got a patient that's crabby, the patient that has lost his creativity. Because the thyroid T1 controls all of the electricity that's made for the brain to function. The brain cannot store any electricity unless the thyroid T1 is working. And when people lose the electricity to their brain, believe me, people, the human brain is nothing but a battery. The human brain is a storehouse of energy and electricity and messages that go through the body 24 hours a day by the millions. And it's charged and recharged by the thyroid T1. So if you get a patient that's got a T1, you got a depressed patient, you got a crabby patient, you got a tired patient, you got a patient that's not very creative anymore, and you want to make them happy, I call this my happy button. All day long I ask people, are you happy? And if they aren't happy, this is the first button I check right there. You're going to have a swollen nose by the end of the seminar. Thyroid T4, listen, thyroid T4 is the part of the thyroid that governs all the stimulus, the rhythm of the heart. The human heart gets its rhythm. Listen very closely. The human heart gets its rhythm from the thyroid, from the adrenal gland, and from the phrenic nerve. There's the phrenic nerve that feeds the heart. The human heart cannot have rhythm. It cannot function beautifully. It cannot live to be 100 years of age unless the thyroid and the adrenal and the phrenic nerve are all balanced together. So all the blood that goes into the body goes in by the stimulus of the hormones of the thyroid T4. So if you've got a patient that's got heart trouble, you always want to check their thyroid, and you want to check their adrenals, and you want to check the 7th cervical, because that's what affects the heart. Some people, you will only pick up heart, and it means they got a genetic heart. They were born with weak hearts. It had nothing to do with a weak thyroid, adrenal, or phrenic nerve. So the thyroid T4 controls the rhythm of the blood that goes into the body. All the return blood back to the top of the body from the extremities is under the control of the adrenals. So that's thyroid T4. And then you got thyroid T3. That controls the rhythm of the kidneys. When thyroid T3 is not working, then you've got a patient who fills up with 5 or 6 pounds of fluid and he gets accidents. He gets incontinent bowels, loose bowels, watery bowels, colitis, diverticulitis because of a kidney that's not working fast enough to get water out of the body. So thyroid T1 for the brain, thyroid T4 for the heart, and thyroid T3 for the kidneys. Now you might say, well, Dr. Burschnow, thyroid T3 was yeast. Yes, pointer finger. But all of the thyroids you check with your hand. This is a double reflex. With your finger, it is yeast. With your hand, it is thyroid. Now, we check the adrenal. Here's the adrenal gland right here. Now, you always check it under the left armpit. Now, people, you might say, well, why don't you check the right armpit, the right adrenal? Well, people, there is no such thing. There is a left adrenal. All of the organs on the right side of your body, with the exception of a few like the liver and the gallbladder, are backups. Your anterior pituitary is right here. It's a backup. It's a spare part. Your tonsil on the right side is a spare part. Your parotid on the right side is a spare part. Your right kidney, your right adrenal, your right ovary, your right testicle is a spare part. You never use your right kidney unless your left kidney gets into trouble. You never use your right adrenal unless your left adrenal gives you trouble. So all the working is on the left side of the body. All the spare parts are on the right side. Even the right side of the heart does most of the resting, while the left side of the heart does the work. So your body has backups all the time. If this side of the body falls apart, the right side of the body will take over. Even though you're a dummy and you don't know what to do, it'll take over until it falls apart. Then your patient either dies or you find out what to do for him. And so these are things that we've had to learn. I always wondered why Diazide and Lasix work so good on people. Well, I know now, because what they do is when the left kidney falls down and doesn't work anymore, Diazide and Lasix puts the right kidney to work and makes it work so efficiently that, boy, these guys got good drugs. Well, we now know that we have nutrition that will literally take over the right side of the body and do what those drugs will do. And so you as a doctor now that can't use drugs, you have an alternate. You have nutrition that most of the time will do as good a job as a drug and sometimes better. And so here we go. We've got the left adrenal. The left adrenal is the smallest organ in the human body. It is so important that the human body would literally fall apart overnight if the adrenal glands totally quit. Now, the adrenal gland does many things, but I'll tell you a couple things that it does. You cannot move your bowels without the adrenal glands. A man becomes impotent with an adrenal gland that doesn't work. A woman can't have a healthy sex relation without the adrenal gland producing fluids that she needs to have that. The human body has literally salts that protect the brain at the base of the brain. All the fluid at the base of the brain is made by the adrenal glands. The fluids that protect the ears right here are made by the adrenal glands. All the fluids in the eyes are made by the adrenal gland. All of your saliva in your mouth is brought to your parotid glands to make saliva by the adrenal glands. The breasts get their form and their shape from fluids that are made by the adrenal glands. Your hip sockets that are full of fluid are made by the adrenal glands. Your knees are full of fluid that are made by the adrenal glands. Your whole body is balanced with tons and tons of salts and fluids that are made by the adrenal glands. So if your adrenal glands don't work, your bones dry out, your skin dries out, your hair dries out, and your whole body gets so dry that age 50, 60, and believe me, people every day come to me whose bodies are 50, 60 years of age that look like they're 90 or more. And all they can do is sing how dry I am. See? Because your adrenal glands are not healthy. All day long you're going to find people with weak adrenal glands, and you've got to treat them. Because everything you can imagine happens to people when their adrenal glands go bad. Everything. Plus varicose veins, tired legs, swollen ankles, tired hearts, hearts that give out and just die because there's no adrenaline to keep the heart going and bringing the blood back to the heart. Do you know if the adrenal glands quit, the heart will work for the adrenal gland and do the job for the adrenal gland until it wears out and then you die. So doctors, the human body is full of backups. It's like an astronaut when he goes into space. He has backups. If this thing goes wrong, they got a backup, see? And so the human body is the same way. Now, that's the adrenal gland. Now I'm going to go quickly through probably one of the most important reflexes you can possibly learn, and that's the 4 bad ones, where the star is. We call those the 4 bad ones. The first one is right here. This is the parotid gland. When the parotid gland reflex blows, you've got a patient that has a chemical in his body, and chemicals cause blindness, they cause diseases in the body, they cause rashes and eczemas and hives and all different type of symptoms of dryness in the body because chemicals burn the body and destroy the body. And where do these chemicals from? The chlorine in your water, the fluorides, the pesticides, the chemicals that they put in your food, the colors, the things that you work with, the shaving lotion you put on, the toothpaste stuff you put in your mouth. Girls that work in the industry of the hair industry, they put chemicals on their hands and people's hairs all day. That's where these chemicals come from. Plus everything you drink today has chemicals in it. So if you get too many chemicals in your body, it can literally blind you or make you deaf or poison your body and cause all kinds of symptoms. And so this is a very important reflex. Now your hands have a lubrication reflex. We call this environment reflex. Environmental reflex right here. When the environment literally burns your body out and dries your body out so that your joints get stiff and there's no lubrication in your hips or your knees or your elbows or your shoulders or your bowel dries out and you get so constipated because there's no lubrication there anymore, these reflexes will blow. You will generally find this in older people, not young people too often. And then we got the parotid for chemical, the hands for lubrication, and then between the breasts here you got a gut reflex. When the gut reflex blows on a woman this petite, all it means is that the woman's digestion is very weak and it hasn't caused any weight problems. But if you get a person that comes in your office that has a gut reflex and they're obese and heavy and their bodies are all over the place and they're just terribly distorted, you have to go to page 6 in your notes and look up the gut reflex nutrition and put them on that nutrition because their whole digestive system is turned upside down and their body gets so overweight because their body can't handle all the food they're eating. That's the gut reflex. Now the next one is the pus reflex. Now watch this. The hemoglobin reflex is right here. The coronary is right here. If you take your fingers down in a V where the breasts begin right here, this is the pus reflex. They're not straight across. They're down like this. This is the pus reflex. Now the pus reflex, when it blows, you have 5 sub-reflexes under it. 5 subs. Now watch this very closely because you'll be using these all day. When you get a pus reflex, you go positive and negative, and whatever it blows on, you erase. If it blows on the negative, you erase it. Then you check for parasites, which is number 1. That's right over the bowel, like we taught you before. Inside the groin here, where the ovaries are, inside the groin here, you have the chronic fatigue reflex. That's the worst reflex that anybody can have in the whole world happen to their body because all your bad things, fibroids, tumors, cysts, all your bad eczema, psoriasis, scleroderma, ichthyosis, all bad things show up under this reflex. Your sickest people have this reflex, and believe me, nowadays all kinds of people have this. So you have parasite. Inside the groin, you've got chronic fatigue, and then if you go between both of these, right in the middle of the bowel right here, you got the flora reflex. 80% of all my patients that have to lose weight, that are overweight, that want to lose weight, can lose weight beautifully by treating this reflex. The flora reflex means you've lost your flora. You've lost the thousands of bacteria in your body that break down your food faster than you eat it. Now people, if I lose my flora in my bowel, overnight I can become a heavy person. Overnight. Just like a septic tank, when it runs out of flora, overnight it overflows in people's yards. The plumber will come in and throw flora into that septic tank, and overnight it'll go right down to normal. The human body puts on weight overnight when you lose your flora. How do you lose your flora? From chemicals and poisons and drinks, things that destroy what these things have to do. Even flora sometimes can't keep you well when you eat and drink things that destroy them. And so people that are overweight will have this reflex, and we'll talk about that today. So you've got parasite, chronic fatigue, flora, and then you go to the liver, and when the liver reflex blows under the pus reflex now, you have a patient whose liver is full of metals. This means they're full of calcium and irons and copper and zinc and any type of mineral you can imagine gets clogged in that liver so bad that the liver can no longer move in this direction, and so everything backs up and they get huge varicose veins. They get huge hemorrhoids. They get high blood pressure. They get cataracts. They get glaucoma. They get Alzheimer's disease because all these diseases I just mentioned come from this, come from metals backing up in the body. So when a patient comes in with high blood pressure that even drugs don't lower it, always look for pus reflex minerals, glaucoma, all these things, cataracts, Alzheimer's disease, huge varicose veins, hemorrhoids. When these things happen, headaches, tiredness, look for pus reflex metals. Schizophrenia, another thing. Mental retardation, another thing on kids that have this. The last one is the salt reflex on top of the head. The salt reflex will blow when a person's body is so low on salt and fluids that even the adrenal gland cannot make fluids anymore because the body's low on natural salts. Then this reflex will blow. In the middle of the summer, women will complain about swollen ankles, swollen hands. People's bodies will blow up and swell because they're full of alkaline salts rather than acid salts. And so that reflex will blow. Now, if you've gone all the way around, all 5, and none of those 5 have blown, you end up again at the pus reflex. Then the pus reflex will blow. If it blows, that means your body's just full of pus. That's all it means. You're full of pus. And then you clean up the pus. So you go all the way around. Pus reflex, parasite, chronic fatigue, flora, liver's metals, salt. And then you got that through. Now the easy ones. The sex hormones, you got right ovary or right testicle, left ovary or left testicle. You got uterus or prostate on a man. You got the breast. You use 2 hands for the breast like this for breasts. If the breasts are not shaped the way they should be, you'll pick up a breast reflex. And then a master hormone. Now when the ovaries give out on a woman, that's sad and that's bad. Because a woman's body is so designed that the ovaries keep her shape. Never forget this, that the ovaries on a woman give a woman her shape and her design, and her happiness, and her creativity, and her romance, and her color is her ovaries. So when a young girl gets to be 13 or 14 and she's overweight, almost invariably you'll pick up an ovary reflex. When a girl is 24 and she's beautiful like this and she gets pregnant and overnight she puts on weight, it's because the baby took all her hormones and all her estrogen. Sometimes you'll get a happy marriage where a husband and a wife are overindulging in natural romance and she loses all her hormones. Men and women both can lose that, and then their bodies lose their shape. And so you constantly have to be on guard for a woman's ovaries so that her body doesn't get out of shape real quickly and overnight and difficulty bringing it back by checking her ovaries. The uterus never blows unless the uterus is low on nutrition. The uterus needs hormones and vitamins and minerals and enzymes to feed a baby. And when a woman has an 8-pound baby, that baby comes from her, not from anything else but her. And when that baby comes out 8 pounds, it'll be 8 pounds of something depending upon what her body has taken during that pregnancy. A lot of women abort babies because their uterus is so weak, and you will pick up this reflex and you will prevent the abortion. Any woman that comes in your office that's pregnant, check that reflex so she doesn't abort her babies. This master hormone reflex here is anybody 40 years of age and older, men and women that go through menopause, and their body needs hormones to keep their stately, happy, romantic old age yet, so that you still enjoy life after you're 40, 50, 60 years of age. This reflex will show up. Now those are your hormones. Now the next one is the brain. You take right on the top of the brain here, it's called master brain. That reflex does the same thing as T1. These people that have this lose their memory, they lose their thought, they lose their trend of thinking, they lose their creativity, they get depressed mentally. So when somebody's depressed or crabby, kids or adults, always check this one and this one. And always check their hormones. Check a man's testicles and his prostate and a woman's ovary and her uterus. When a man gets a prostate reflex blowing on him, people, you've got an unhappy man. You've got a man that no longer can do his job anymore. He's like a guy that goes on an elevator and he pushes a button and the elevator don't go up. That's what impotency is. See? And so you got to feed these guys a lot of prostates for a while to get the prostate healthy again, to get him happy, give him shape and give him design and make him happy. It's terribly important. And so when somebody gets depressed, and you'll learn this from the videos now, always check T1, check master brain right here, check females' ovaries and uterus, check males' testicles and prostate, and then you will pick up almost everything that can make a person depressed and crabby. All right, now, the salt reflex is here. The back of the head, you've got a reflex called the stress reflex, which is the crown reflex on your notes. Your notes will call this the crown reflex. When this reflex blows, you've got somebody that has low blood sugar. This reflex encompasses the liver sugar. There are 3 types of low blood sugar that you can have in the human body, and I'll teach them all to you today. This one here has to do with the liver. The liver produces glycogen, which is sugar that all the nerves of the central nervous system need to make to carry electricity throughout the body. And if you're low on sugar in your liver, you can no longer have a peripheral nervous system that's working good and that's electrical. And you'll always be tired. You'll always be stressed out. If there's nothing else wrong in your whole body but you're just tired, this reflex will blow out if you've got low blood sugar. Then the back of the head right here, you got the Parkinson's reflex. This is a bad reflex. This is the battery of your brain. When this reflex blows, it means you've got a battery that's either dead or dying. And you had better charge it and get electricity in the body, because if you don't, you will have MS, MD, Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's, or palsy, or anything like that, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. All these people that have those conditions I just mentioned will have this reflex. Okay? Then, on the left side of the brain, on the top, the side, in front of the ear, you go up the front of the ear, right here is the pituitary reflex. When the pituitary gland gives out, you've got a child that doesn't grow, a child's body that doesn't develop. He's always a petite little thing. And boy, you can make them grow like crazy if you treat the pituitary gland. Adults rarely get this unless they have an over-acid stomach. Then the pituitary gland will cause the stomach to be over-acid. And you can't seem to shut the stomach trouble off because the pituitary is so weak. And then one more for the brain is the pineal gland. Watch this one very closely. The pineal gland is right between the eyebrows. Not on the nose, but between the eyebrows, right here. When that reflex blows, you've got somebody that's got a brainstem that's injured. You've got somebody that has hearing loss, eye loss. You've got somebody that can go into MS and Lou Gehrig's and MD. You've got somebody that's got palsy, that's weak in their body. Almost the same symptoms as you would have as Parkinson's, but not as dangerous. So those are the 6 reflexes to the brain. Now the eye I will teach you later on today. The eye and the ears, I will teach you how to take care of that.